Hi, everybody. Today I am here to answer the question, how to avoid paying an elderly parent's nursing home bill when insurance stops and you have to pay privately out of your pocket. It's no surprise, paying for nursing home care is very expensive. So today I'm here to answer a caregiver question about managing an elderly parent's bills, including what to do about nursing home bills that can average anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 a month. I'm Pamela D Wilson. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. Please press the share button on this video. Share it with other people that you know who are looking for hope, help, and support in caregiving and aging issues. Also follow my YouTube channel. I regularly do videos. And over on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, there's plenty of information, articles, podcasts, online courses, all there free for caregivers. So let's talk about nursing homes. If your parents are at the point where they need nursing home care, which is not paid for by health insurance, this can mean one of two things. So maybe your mom or dad had an accident like a hip fracture, or they had to go into the hospital for surgery. So what happens is our parents go into the hospital, and then likely they go to a rehab community, a nursing home, a care community. Really, they're all the same things. Those are just different terms that are used for really what we call a nursing home. The nursing home will keep your parents there for rehab for a certain number of days. Now, you may hear wide ranges in these numbers. You may hear a couple of weeks all the way to 100 days. Well, it's important not to make the assumption that your parents will be there forever, because the goal is to get them physically strong and get them moved out as quickly as possible. Most of the time, this happens in 1, 2, or 3 weeks. And this is typically the time that Medicare or their insurance will pay. On day 21, it could be a different thing. Now, insurance could still partially be paying, but you have a copay, which can be over $100 a day. Number 2 scenario is mom or dad may be living at home and you're the caregiver, and maybe you're a 24/7 caregiver, and your parents need more care than you can provide. It could be because they have a lot of complicated health issues, or maybe mom or dad needs assistance with mobility and you're a very small person and you can't pick them up or lift them. You're worried that you're going to get hurt and you're going to hurt them. Also, you could have been a caregiver for 10 years or 15 years, and finally all of this is getting to you physically and emotionally, and your health is at risk, your family is at risk. Maybe you've been paying their bills and you realize that you can no longer do that because money is running out. So having to place a loved one in a nursing home, it can be a guilt-filled decision, something that is really hard for you to do, but in some cases it may be the only way to make sure that your parent or your spouse or your loved one receives the care that they need, and that you as the caregiver can also take care of yourself. So let's look at how caregivers can avoid paying their parents' nursing home bill. And it's really rather simple. Okay, so when mom or dad are admitted to the nursing home, the one thing that you want to make sure is that they sign that paperwork, not you, because nursing homes have a lot of verbiage in their contracts. And if you don't read every word of that 30 to 40 page document and understand what you are agreeing to and what you are signing, then a lot of unfortunate things can happen, right? So if your mom or dad signed the paperwork, then they're liable for their payments. We'll talk about power of attorney signing paperwork in a second, but caregivers will ask all the time about these laws called filial laws, which make adult children responsible for their parents' bills. Now, these are different state by state, and sometimes they're enforced, sometimes they're not. The best way to get a really firm answer on that is to consult an elder law or a probate or an estate planning attorney. Now, let's say that you are the medical or the financial power of attorney agent for a parent and you signed the nursing home contract. That's okay, but here's a suggestion. When you sign that agreement, after you have read everything and only after you understand everything and have asked questions of the nursing home staff so that you understand, you sign. So let's say that you sign, let's say Mary Smith is your mother and you're Jane Smith, right? So on that signature line, it's Mary Smith by Jane Smith, agent under medical power of attorney, agent under financial power of attorney, with no personal medical or financial liability. So basically you're saying, I'm acting as the agent, but I am not taking any personal responsibility for paying these bills. That's how you should sign everything as an agent, especially if it's some kind of a medical contract or a contract where you're going to have to pay something. You never want to become personally responsible, because as agent under a good power of attorney document, usually drafted by an attorney, I know you can download them off the internet, but if you want the best protection, have an attorney document and create those forms for you. So let's talk about long-term care for a second, because this is another term that you are likely to hear that is probably going to go right over your head. Long-term care a lot of times relates to nursing home care, because it means somebody's going to be in the care of a nursing home for a very long time, probably the rest of their life, right? So in those cases, if your parent doesn't have money to pay this crazily expensive bill for a long time, you will file for Medicaid, which is also considered long-term care, right? But here's the thing. The minute that your parent goes into that nursing home, if you suspect that they are not going to be able to come home, and even if you're not sure, talk to the nursing home billing office and talk to them and say, hey, you know, my parent's going to be here. I don't know if they're going to have to stay here long term or not. They have some money, but they don't have a lot of money. Tell me about Medicaid, and tell me about making a Medicaid application and what's involved and what that takes. Because typically the nursing home can initiate a form, could be called something different in states, but it's usually called a ULTC 100, which begins the medical part of the Medicaid application. Now there's a financial part and paperwork that you have to fill out. And this can be different by state. Medicaid may be called Medi-Cal in California. It might be called something else in another state. But basically what you're looking for is the long-term care program that pays for care in a nursing home. And so the billing department in that nursing home, and sometimes it could be a case manager also, can help you understand what that Medicaid application entails, what information you have to supply, how you qualify, all of that. So you can also learn about this earlier by contacting your state social services office or long-term care office. Just call one of them and they can tell you who the Medicaid provider is. That person can educate you more on this. You can actually look at an application and see how it processes through the system. Now, here's the kicker. Applications can take 2 months, they can take 6 months, they can take 8 months. You, as the person helping your parent file that application, really have to be very, very diligent and follow through and make phone calls, because sometimes these forms can get lost on somebody's desk. Somebody quits their job and all this paperwork gets pushed by the wayside, and you're like, well, I completed the application 6 months ago. And they're like, oh, well, Mary Jo left 6 months ago. Your application's probably in a box somewhere and we didn't process it. This is the crazy stuff that happens, right? So you have to be very good on details and follow up with all these applications and make sure that everything is moving through. Now, honestly, all the paperwork can look pretty intimidating, right? It's like you're being asked for all this information. But truly, if you have ever completed a complicated income tax return before, it's really not that much worse. Now, you're going to have to, find bank statements, your parents' bills, whether they have a living will, a power of attorney document, their birth certificate, things like that. You're going to have to find a lot of documentation to complete this paperwork. If your parents in a nursing home, they usually can help you with that. Or again, the agency that controls the Medicaid process can help you with that. There may also be local people that you can hire. When I was a care manager for clients, I helped them with Medicaid applications all the time because it can be intimidating and you have to be very, very diligent, like I mentioned, in the details. And, when you deliver that application, you want a receipt saying the date and time you delivered it so that you actually have proof that you delivered it. In case for some reason they say, oh, you never submitted it or we lost it, you have proof. Always keep a copy of everything too. Additionally, if you have an elder law or an estate planning attorney, they can help you with the Medicaid process and give you more advice. So in all of this, how do you avoid paying a nursing home bill for your elderly parent? First of all, you don't sign as the payor, your parents do, or you sign as the agent under power of attorney if your parents can't sign. Then you start looking at Medicaid, and if that is a reality, you start that process. So the best advice I can really give you is to investigate all of this when your parents first need care, before they ever go into the hospital or go into a nursing home or need extensive care. Create a care plan. Now, there is a course on my website called How to Care for Elderly Parents. It takes you through all of this, the A to Z of planning. How do you pay for care? How do you talk to attorneys? How do you hire care managers? What about nursing homes? What about hiring in-home caregivers? It's on my website. It's complimentary. It's about a, honestly, 30-hour webinar series, but it's there, and I'll put a link at the bottom of this video on my YouTube page where you can find it. So trying to figure out all this at the last minute in a crisis, super, super stressful. There's no reason for you to have to do that if you can investigate this up front. Now, as the caregiver, you're going through this with your elderly parent or a spouse or another family member. Realize that you can eventually be in the same situation. So look at your life, look at your health. Are you taking good care of yourself? Are you getting regular medical care? There's hundreds of videos here on this station, on my YouTube channel, about the importance of taking care of yourself as the caregiver, because eventually caregivers are going to be the person who needs care. So as you do this for your parent, look at it for yourself. How are you planning for your care? How will you pay for care? Is long-term care insurance an option at the company that you work? Seriously, take a look at it. If it's not, you can look at it as an independent policy. And I will tell you, the younger you are, the healthier you are when you look at that, the less expensive it is. But when you look at nursing home costs today, anywhere from $70,000 to $80,000 to over $100,000 a year, what do you think this is going to cost in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years or 20 years or 40 years if you're a caregiver? It's going to be astronomically more expensive. So the lesson in all of this is to learn from your caregiving experience as you take care of your parents and your grandparents or other people in your family. Learn and use that information, use that knowledge to have it benefit yourself and your life. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. My website's PamelaDWilson.com. On there, a lot of hope, help, support, education, information, knowledge for caregivers and aging adults. Take advantage of it. Have a fabulous day today. I will see you all again soon in another video.